Hello, welcome back to my channel, Autobody Sews. My name's Catherine Baker and this is part 2 of the video tutorial series on how to create the pattern, the Pythagoras Dress, which is out of my head. It is a bias cut dress with pockets and a zero waist design, and in the previous video we looked at how to design a layout based on your own size. This video is going to cover how to cut the pattern pieces out of the fabric. We don't use a pattern, we just draw it straight out onto the fabric, so you're going to need obviously some kind of ruler, a tape measure and a pen to mark the shapes out with. Obviously a reasonably big space as well to spread your fabric out on, and as you will see I only just had enough space, so I'm kind of crawling around the edges a little bit. Okay, so cutting it out. This is going to be tricky because I haven't got a big space here, but we'll give it a go and hopefully you can see the general process and do yours in a slightly bigger space than mine. Okay, so what we want to do is lay our piece of fabric out and decide where we're going to start from. And I'm going to start from this corner here, so this is going to be my, that's going to be my front point of my skirt. And so looking at our little layout that we've drawn, that bit there is going to be that part there, so that's where I'm going to start measuring from, and that's probably quite an important thing to note. Notice I am using my fabric upside down so that I can see my markings easily on it, and so I'm going to start from this corner and I'm going to measure my beautiful 70, what was it again, referring to my diagram, 73 centimeters. So I'm going to make a little blue mark here. Do the same thing on this side in my very limited space I have here. Okay, and I'm going to mark a little 73 centimeter mark there. Probably should have ironed my fabric first, but never mind, we'll just go ahead. The other thing just to note is make sure it's kind of laid out really square, so if you've got quite a drapey fabric it might need a bit of sort of pulling into shape. Okay, then this is where I'm going to use my giant triangle that I have made from my fabric store bag, and I am going to place this here with my point here, running along the selvage edge, making sure that my fabric is as square as I can, just so that I get my measurement nice and accurate. Okay, and then I'm going to draw, take your pen out of your mouth, Catherine. I'm going to draw this in here so that I have got my side of my skirt. Okay, and same thing on the other side where I have got my 73 centimeter mark. This time I'm going to place it this way along. And this is not going to be amazingly accurate because, as you can see, I'm kind of half going under the bed here, but we'll just draw it in. I think that's pretty much on the straight grain. So draw my line in here. Okay. And then I'm going to take my tape measure and I'm going to measure the distance that I want, the length that I want my dress to be. And I am going to go 110 centimetres, I think, on this one. Just trying to remember what I did on the last one. No, I think I'm just going to go 100 again on this one because it's quite drapey, so it's going to definitely drop a bit. Okay, and what I am now going to do is I'm actually going to start cutting. Oh, just before you do that, what I suggest you do to make sure you've done it correctly is check that your measurement from here, the line you've put in here, is exactly your hip measurement that you want it to be. Mine's sitting on 103, so obviously I'm a tiny bit out, but that's okay. That's going to fit my hips. So I'm going to cut this triangle off here. Look, I'm just going straight in and doing it. No patterns, just on the fabric. Go ahead and cut. Okay, so that's my spare triangle. I'm then going to, I'm just going to remark it again because I've realised I've lost my measurement. So I'm going to measure my 100 centimetres here. Oh, there it is. Okay. And I'm going to take my handy dandy giant triangle again, and I'm going to mark the bottom of my skirt. Actually, I think I'm just going to go slightly longer again, and I'm going to take it across to here. And this time I'm using my 90-degree angle at the corner there. And I'm going to mark that in for a little way. And then I'm going to go ahead, cut this as well. And now I'm just going to do a little bit of trickery just to make sure I get this all the same length. So I'm actually going to fold this across. I'm going to fold it along that line there. Should meet up with that one. And I'm going to grab my scissors. Keep cutting till I have got it sitting nice and flat. And you can see I still haven't quite got it meeting my line that I drew across here, so I'll pull it across until it meets the line that I drew along there at the 45-degree angle. And then I'm just going to keep cutting along here. I suggest probably using a slightly more stable fabric for your first dress that you make, just because it is a little bit easier. And then I'm going to cut along this line here. Okay, so this is my main skirt piece. I'm going to fold it back out again so you can see the shape. Okay. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is we are going to come over here, and this is where we're going to do our second measurement, which is going to be our shoulder to bust, not bust point, the V, and I'm going to measure 30 centimeters along the side. Okay, and then I'm going to take my triangle again, and this time I want it to run along here and meet. See, I haven't gone very straight there, or else it's just got a little bit bent, but I want it to meet this point here, and I want it to be a nice 90-degree angle. And if this is 90 degrees, then it should make everything else correct. It's a wee bit tricky to draw on this fabric with this pen, but we'll roll it. Okay, then we're going to do exactly the same thing here. So mark 30 centimeters, and we need to measure. Oh, do you know what I haven't done? I just realised I didn't actually measure the distance from here to here, but it's okay. Luckily it's 76 centimetres, which is going to be about right. Whoops. It was 150 centimetre wide fabric, so I knew that it was pretty much exactly right for my size. Okay, 76 centimetres here. Make sure that's lying reasonably flat. I'd recommend actually ironing your fabric first, unlike me. Okay, make a mark there. Okay, again, we're going to take our triangle, and because we haven't got the line that we had from our skirt, we need to make sure that this is reasonably accurate. Okay, and again, we are going to draw that in. And you can see that when we draw it in, it should approximately run along that same line as the bottom of the skirt. And you can see I did a little woggle in my skirt, but never mind. I'll probably hem that up anyway. Okay, and then again I want to take my 90-degree angle and I want to put it along this line here, and I want to line it up with the one I just drew here and meet this blue mark here, which was my 30cm one. And it should be approximately opposite this one if we've drawn them correctly, because they should be exactly the same size on each side. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and cut both of those out. I'm sorry you probably can't see my marks very well. I probably should have used a darker pen, but I don't have one. But hopefully once I've cut it, you can see the outline of the shapes. Okay, and cut the other piece. You can see it's a very soft, movable fabric, so it's going to be a little trickier to sew this one. But I'm using this because it had a very distinct wrong side to the fabric, so I thought it would be good to show you when I'm sewing it, so you can easily see the different sides. Okay, then all I'm going to do now is just finish off this triangle. I'm just going to do that by eye. So that's one of the triangles that's going to be a pocket. Okay, and then I want to cut some bias strips, and I am just going to briefly mark those out. So I want to have around about 4cm wide bias strips. And I think I've actually done my skirt longer than I usually do, so therefore I'm not going to end up with some very wide ties at the end. I think I'm just going to do I may end up cutting a little bit off the bottom of my skirt actually to use for another tie. Okay, so 4, 4, 4. Now you could probably, if you have got a rotary cutter and mat, go ahead and actually cut these using that, which is going to be a little more accurate than by scissors. But just for the purposes of this, I will cut these with scissors to show you the full layout. Yeah, definitely done a bit of wrong measuring there. Okay, so basically we've done all our cutout. I'm just going to leave this for now because I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do with the straps, whether I want to cut that in half and have 2 narrow straps or use it as just back ties. So I'm going to leave that. The other things that we are going to do is go ahead and mark some of the places in, but I'll pause the video here and then we'll get on. Okay, so the last thing we need to do before we finish our cutting out is we're just going to mark the places for the bust darts. We're going to cut out the armholes / pockets, and then we are going to mark where the pockets are going to go as well. It's just a wee bit easier while it's laid out before some of the bias shifts and stretches, so we'll do it here. So I'll just show you on this dress so you can see we've got the pockets here, and it's personal preference, but I have done mine starting with the opening at 22 centimeters from the center front, and my bust darts I put at 14 centimeters, and that worked out well for me. You can leave off marking in your bust darts now, and you can do that once you've tried on your bodice. if you would prefer to do so. So I'm going to mark those in now. The other thing we want to do at this point, remember, is think about the fact that we had our measurement here, which was going to be 15 centimetres, which is where we wanted our armhole to start. So I'm just going to start by doing that on both. So you go from this point here, measure along, so that's the width that we want our back to be. And I've got a sleeve hole piece that I have cut out, and you're going to probably just need to have a bit of a play with this and adjust it. You can see if I lay this on here, I actually don't have a lot of space. So for people that have got more width here that they're going to be using because they've obviously got wider hips and things, then you may have a bigger one. But I'm actually just going to decrease the size of this. The problem is obviously it's going to decrease the size of your pocket. It's going to decrease the size of your pocket if you cut out a smaller one. But I think I'm just going to actually go ahead and do that because I do want my front strap to be a little bit wider. So I'm actually just going to decrease the width of my armhole piece for this one. And so you can see here I have got about 4 centimetres, 15 here. Let's just go ahead and measure what I did on this dress, just so you can see the width of the back here. You can compare it to my photo. You can see this one is, will have been around about 15. And you can see that my front piece did end up being quite narrow. So I'm actually just going to narrow this one a little bit more, so I've got a wee bit more at the front. Now the other thing that you want to do is you're just going to angle it in a little bit. So I've drawn it straight on my piece of paper, but I actually want the front armhole to be angled in a little bit more. And so I'm going to start it here, and then I'm going to angle it in like that, because obviously you're going to be bending your arm forward, and so you need a little bit more space in your front armhole. And then I'm going to mirror it and do the same thing on the other side. So I've got that one at 15 and this one about 4. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut those out. Trying to make a nice neat job as I go around the bottom of the armhole, because obviously this is going to be bias bound, so you want it to look like a really nice curve. Something else to watch out for is if you've got a very wide bias edge, bigger than 1 centimetre, you may just need to account for that when you are doing these, because or cut it off actually. I haven't done so because my bias edge is quite narrow, and so I'll just let that be inside the seam. Okay, so we've got 2 pocket pieces. Now you notice that these have become quite narrow, so it might be that you use the 2 triangles for your pocket pieces, and these are just waist. I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to do. I'll have a wee think about it and see if I decide these are too narrow or not. I think they probably will be, so I may just end up going ahead and using my 2 triangle pieces for this dress, in which case it's not 0 waist, it's going to be low waist. Okay, so now I've done that, I can go ahead and mark my bust darts. So remembering that these 2 points here are the center, and so going along here, this is going to be where the bust darts are going to go in. So I want them to be, if you recall, about 14 centimetres. So I'm going to measure 15 because of the seam allowance. And so I start here and measure about 3 centimetres across, 6 centimetres up. I'm just going to put a little dot there and I'll draw them in later. Same thing on the other side. So mark my 15 centimetres, so you can probably hardly see that. Pull that out a bit. 15 centimetres and another 3 across from that. And then mark my 6 centimetres up, put a little dot, and I'll draw them in later. And then the only other thing I now need to do is just measure in where I want my pockets to go. So I've already established I want them to be 22 centimetres down from the front. So I'm going to measure 23 obviously to account for the seam allowance, and I'm just going to put a single mark there. That's going to be where my pocket opening starts, and it will depend on the width of your pocket bag that you've got, how far across you're going to go. Okay, and that is all the cutting out done, and we're ready to sew. Thanks for watching. Please let me know if you give this pattern a go, and don't forget to tag it on Instagram with the hashtag Pythagoras Dress. I'm really looking forward to seeing what everyone comes up with. See you later.